However, we are going to use philosophy to investigate and to understand freedom with an emphasis on inner freedom and external or physical freedom. Do you know the difference between the two? The first concept of freedom is the freedom from, which refers to the freedom from the constraints of the society. The second concept is the freedom to, which refers to the freedom to do what we need and want to do. While the third concept is the freedom to be, which refers to the freedom not just to do what we want, but a freedom to be who we were meant to be. All of these concepts indicate the kind of freedom that every human person must obtain. It is important to note that discovering our human nature will help us to discover the kinds of freedom that we deserve to have. But to make it concise, inner freedom is the freedom of our mind or our intellect, emotions, beliefs, and actions. It includes our spiritual, emotional, and intellectual freedom. While on the other hand, external or physical freedom take account the freedom of action, to move about, to speak, to do things, to work, or to act on the physical world. Here are some accurate identification of this freedom. The first on inner freedom is our freedom to think or intellectual freedom, which upholds every human person's right to refine one's thinking and using his mind to think critically, contributory to preservation, protection, and improvement of oneself and the society. Everyone has freedom to express the thoughts formed inside his or her mind, which sustain the freedom to express oneself and the freedom of speech as an action. The second is the freedom to feel any emotion or the emotional freedom. All feelings and emotions are valid. Thus, there must be equal freedom for everyone to express their feelings and emotions. Moreover, every individual must be free from any form of emotional torture or coercion. The next is the spiritual freedom, which also upholds freedom of religion. This seeks one's freedom to fulfill the sanctification of the spirit. Freedom of religion is a political principle guaranteeing the exercise of freedom of belief and freedom of worship for individuals and groups. It is generally recognized to include related freedoms applied to the religious sphere, such as the freedom of speech like evangelism, press or production and distribution of literature about faith, travel for pilgrimages and meetings, and public assembly for religious purposes. And the freedom to beliefs, which entails one's freedom to seek and form notions and beliefs, to adhere without prejudice and restraints from others. This is associated with our intellectual freedom, since a human person may only be able to form significant beliefs by using the intellect. On the other note, for physical or external freedom, everyone has physical freedom and freedom of movement, which literally take on the possibility of an individual to go wherever he wants and do whatever he wishes to do. Humans are by nature mobile, thus no unjust incarceration must be instigated to anyone. We are also entitled to economic freedom, or the freedom to own property and to do with it what one chooses. It is also known as the freedom to trade. This has traditionally been expressed through owning land and being able to farm the land and enjoy what one produces. In the modern world, this has been transformed into owning a house and acquiring properties such as cars. Now, we can also have freedom these freedoms are also supported by the Declaration of the Basic Human Rights. Therefore, this freedom must not be denied to every human person. As you can see, every person is protected